Hello, I'm Rebecca Rule. I'm a storyteller and a humorist and a collector of stories. And I'm going to tell you a story that I heard on an audio tape. Not this last winter, but the winter before that, when we had a winter and the snow was deep and it was a long, tough few months. But a gift came to me. It was a gift from Heather Pike, a woman who sent me the tape of her grandfather, Warren Angus Wilbur, who had been a doctor in Seabrook, New Hampshire. It was about an hour's worth of stories, and I listened to it with great interest. And I'm going to tell you one of the stories from that tape. Keep in mind that it was made in 1975, when Warren Angus Wilbur was in his 90s. And as I listened to the tape, I pictured him telling these stories in a kitchen, surrounded by family, because you can hear voices saying, "Grandpa, remember the time?" Or, "Warren, tell the one about." So this is Warren Angus Wilbur's story. I call it ice fishing. Warren Angus Wilbur loved nothing more than to go ice fishing with his best friend Razor True in Pittsburgh, New Hampshire. They'd go up there in the middle of the winter and they would stay at Razor's little cabin that he had up to Pittsburgh, and they'd go ice fishing for a week or two or however long they had. Well, one day Razor and Warren were out driving around on a back road where they hadn't been before, and they spotted a pond. Beautiful little pond. It looked perfect for pickerel because it looked kind of shallow. It wasn't too big. You know, you don't want to go pickerel fishing in a pond that's too big. You want to go in a kind of a medium-sized pond, not too deep. So they got the equipment out of the back of the truck and they went out onto the ice and they commenced to make a hole. They did not have an auger. They had a chisel, and they had an axe, and they went to work. Well, unbeknownst to them, this pond had a history. A few years before, the loggers had come through this valley and clear cut it. Now, they had come through in the middle of the winter when the snow was about 4 feet deep. If you're logging in the winter when the snow's 4 feet deep, you don't dig down to the bottom of the tree to cut it. No, you cut it where it lies. So when the loggers left, they left 4-foot stumps all through the valley. But that was okay, because the beaver moved in, and they dammed up the little brook that ran through the middle of the valley, and backed up the brook and created this beautiful little pond that rose to the level of those tree stumps, covered them all up, looked good. Well, that was okay. The ice froze this winter, but something happened. The beaver moved out, and when they moved out, the dam broke, and that water drained from beneath the ice right out of the pond, creating just a little stream down the middle. So when Warren Angus Wilbur and Razor True finished chiseling and chopping their hole in the ice, about 1.5 feet of it was not an easy task, they looked down, and there was no water. Naturally, they were disappointed, but they looked down the lake, down the pond, and they saw at the other end 2 fellas had seen them making a hole in the ice, and they said to themselves, "This must be a good place for pickerel fishing." So they were down there making a hole too. Well, Razor had an idea. He slid down through the hole and he crawled the length of the pond to where the other fellas were chopping out their hole, and just as they finished chopping and pulled back the chisel, he popped up. They said, "What are you doing down there?" Razor said, "Well, I drowned last fall, and this is the first chance I've had to get out." Well, on the tape, after this little story is told, you hear a voice says, "Grandpa, is that a true story?" And Warren Angus Wilbur says, "Yeah, well, most of it."